Namaste, Guruji. What is the physiology and psychology behind attention seeking behaviors from loved ones? Is it any kind of self dislike?
A self-dislike? I have a profound question. I really look at this question that there is already a contemplation that has been happening within you. So this attention-seeking behavior, I'm talking physiologically and also psychologically, let's try to understand. So this attention-seeking behavior, it very often, it stems from deep-seated emotional needs for everyone. At a physiological level, it is certainly linked to the brains. We know, I've seen many people who are into a distress and who are even on the chemicals. Because it is linked to the brain's dopamine and oxytocin. Isn't it so? And neurotransmitters. Of course, I'm very poor in this kind of a science. But because I had to speak many on one-on-one, because many are comfortable to talk to me in person than in an open forum. But this question definitely helps everyone. So these neurotransmitters, these brain's dopamine and oxytocins, these are associated with what we call as the sense of pleasure and bonding. When we receive attention or validation, these are the natural chemicals that get automatically released, generally. If they are not getting released, then we need to take the help of the drugs. This is how it is happening. But really, in fact, we don't even need to take the help of any drugs, just because it is important that we are aware of. We are aware of the truth. At least we have to be practicing than buying a medicine and practicing taking a medicine and drinking water and trying to relax. It doesn't help. So it makes this even they happen naturally, these dopamine and oxytocin and neurotransmitters, when they get fulfilled from the external sources, which is a dependent factor here, not a non-dependent factor here, these chemicals naturally get released and then making us feel fulfilled. But remember, the fulfillment is temporary because there is a dependency here. Because there could be any occasion or a reason that when we are dependent on someone, that may not, or some object or something, or even when we are very hungry, we don't get the bite or the food. So when we get, we are fulfilled because the functioning is happening naturally. But then if we don't get, then we are dependent. Then we start becoming restless, agitated. So it's okay as long as, though it is a temporary fulfillment, it is okay. If this need is excessive, please remember, let's remember this. If it often points to a void within, remember that we are going in a more wrong way. It's going to kill our existential energies. And this may happen even from either from the childhood experiences, or even underlying sense of unworthiness that we may have. So this does not necessarily mean self-dislike is what I wanted to say here. It's not a self-dislike. In fact, you want to like more yourself, but that liking you are looking from the acknowledgement from the external dependencies. So it is rather a need for external confirmation or acknowledgement or even a validation, if I have to say. Of about what? About your own worth. I am looking at my worth to be acknowledged by someone. And the cause for this is any kind of thing. There's inner child, what the Westerns call. I'm not taking much of a religious or spiritual, unless the question is about the religious or spiritual things. I'm talking very generally, but with a spiritual value in it, the very essence of the truth of this existence, holding it as the value in it. So there could be many reasons. There are many patterns that get developed, from childhood experiences. And, the people around us make us feel worthless. So this is the physiological and psychological things, if we look at it. At the root of attention seeking, like a deep human longing to feel seen, safe, like when we were infants, we feel like to be seen by mother. We feel like to be safe, and we feel like to be significant. You often observe between, two siblings who are children. If the mother gives more attention to the younger one, the elder one starts feeling insecure about it. It's not always about drama, please remember, or even insecurity. But it very commonly reflects unspoken emotional needs is what we need to understand. There are emotions that are getting rooted within us. It's just not always about the drama that about to be not to be seen or not to be safe or not to be significant. But there are emotions that are getting attached to it. Because if you look at it, we feel a need for belongingness and connection. We, as the human beings, are wired for connection. Right from the infancy, from our birth, even when we were infants, we seek eye contact of the mother. The touch and attention as signs that we are loved and secure. This is what we start, getting trained about the dependencies. Of course, at infant stage, that is fine. But we continue to do that even when we are adults. So, for example, if during any childhood, this attention was inconsistent or conditional. There is a question on conditional love also, which we will talk there. So naturally, the one who is undergoing that, that kind of inconsistent and conditional attentions, then we start to grow up constantly seeking it always. And even subconsciously, without being on the surface of the mind. We don't even know, but we are seeking from deep within. There is a seeking of attention because of the many things. It's not about just, even bullying for that matter. We feel deeply unworthy about it, about ourselves. So this is definitely not a dislike, but it is the unaddressed child within us, still waiting to be validated even after becoming an adult. Many people are seen. Many youngsters, I personally have seen them. And then there is a fear of rejection or abandonment. There is a fear of rejection and abandonment here. We always are fearful that I may be rejected. That leads to a deep stress. You can't even present what you need to be presenting with this kind of a backdrop of the stress. And if we are rejected, we feel that we are abandoned. We are no more in this system. So when we don't feel emotionally safe, look at this. You might try to pull attention from others. What for? As a reassurance, because we are always feared that we won't be left behind or forgotten. This is where we start repeatedly explaining the things. Though the opposite person understands what you have been telling or what I have been telling, but we still keep on explaining many times. We try to give explanation. We try to give substantiation. It is because of that, a sense of emptiness or a reassurance that to make sure that we are present there. Often when you observe, when somebody is talkative and they keep repeatedly talking about certain things, which feels like, they're like trying to explain more and more to make sure that they are properly understood. The problem is that they were already understood. But the problem is with my explanation, which shows my inner insecurity to get acknowledged. So psychologically, if we have to say, it's over explaining, needing a constant texting, for example, or dramatizing emotions. So psychologically, it's a survival response. If I am noticed, I won't be abandoned, is what goes within. If I am noticed, I am not abandoned. This constantly goes in mind. And then lack of inner validation. There is a lack of inner validation here that we are undergoing. Most of us, we are never taught to comfort, affirm, or validate ourselves. Did anybody get taught with, by yourself, to comfort yourself, to affirm yourself, or validate yourself? Somebody has to be there to comfort yourself, to you. Somebody has to be there to comfort you. That's the problem. But that doesn't happen all the time. Even with the people in the home, for example. Forget about friends. But we were never taught the art of comforting ourselves. We were never taught to affirm ourselves. Unless somebody tells that you are wonderful, then we affirm. And we were never taught to validate ourselves. This is what is the spiritual, existence. To comfort ourselves. To know the truth. Not as if a drama, because there is no one to comfort me, let me comfort myself. Even that sense won't work. So, I cannot go and tell someone to keep telling me to say, or to keep telling me that I am doing okay. What the hell it is? Do I need to go to everyone and asking them to keep telling me that I am doing okay? What kind of a life it is? Do I need to go to someone and keep telling me that, hey, notice me, so I can believe I matter? If someone notices, then only shall I start believing that I do matter for this world. This is what is the problem. This is what which creates emotional dependence. And it can become exhausting for both sides. This is what is the cause of this friction. In the system that we are living with the objects that we are related with. This is the problem with the break in the relationships. And there is one more pointer that we need to look at. Identity, it is tied to external response, is one more problem. I identify myself only because of when something is related to the external world, either a person or an object. If there is a car, then I am rich, or I have a car is what is noticed by the world around me. So this identity we are getting tied to the external response. This doesn't help. When self-worth is extremely referenced based on how others treat us, not how we treat ourselves, we naturally seek their attention to feel real, though it is not real. And this also very often happens when someone's sense of self is very fragile. Very fragile. It can break any time. Because it is dependent on everything. If there is something or some object that I long for is existing, Then I seem to be strong, but it's only momentary. Still I am very fragile. The moment that object disappears from you, in front of you, then I am broken. It's very fragile, or that self is still underdeveloped due to certain emotional neglect or cultural conditioning, is what we need to look at. So there are many tools that you can look at. Of course, we will, going forward, we will hold certain sadhana things going forward. So we will discuss about that, like, you need to honestly reflect upon certain things. You need to acknowledge our emotions without judgment. We need to validate our efforts in a small ways to start with. We need to speak kindly to ourselves before even we look for somebody else to talk kindly. And we need to start giving ourselves the certain kind of an attention. That's what we want from others. And without running away to reflect upon even the pain, we need to honestly reflect upon the pain. Look at yourself. Let us look at ourselves. What am I hoping to feel by getting this attention? Did we ever question that? This kind of an awareness certainly slowly start breaking these patterns from within us. There should be clear communication in the relationship without any bias, and anchor within yourself through certain practices. So this is what you need to looking at about this. So self-validation, instead of waiting for others to validate us, we practice validating ourselves. This is most important, most especially for the youth. So this is as simple as acknowledging your own emotions and achievements, no matter how small, no matter whether who appreciates you or not. Mindfulness in your social relationships, friends, parents, siblings, before even seeking any attention from any of the stakeholders. Pause yourself and ask, am I doing this out of genuine connection or out of fear of being unseen? The moment if you get an answer that you are having a fear of being unseen, become aware of that.